ladies and gents, welcome back to BarChat, your number one sports golf podcast for unfiltered opinion and solid banter. My name's Mark Gunner, and joined as always, my partners in crime, still the king of the quiz by the skin of his neck. Matt Gunner's with us in the building. Of course, we've also now got the king of car parks. He's given up on chainsaws, but we'll move on. He can tell us all the way about that one. And our special guest, a cracking guest this evening, talking football and getting us all ready for Cheltenham. Rodders is with us. Let's have a quick shout out to our sponsors, Madry and Easy Breeze. You know the drill by now. Hit the like, follow and subscribe button. We are on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram and X, wherever you get your fix. We are there. Oh, and Matt, he's can actually, I forgot that was remiss of me. Yes, Madry. Thank you, chaps. Loving your comments this week, guys. Plenty of them. Over 110,000 of you watching on TikTok this week. I mean, everyone was so lovely. Matt's gone. Oh, no, he's back. Everyone was so lovely, Matt. I think you've got a couple of belters there when we were talking about Odegaard. What? Anyone said something nice? No. That basically says it all, Matt. Yeah. I think he's frozen. Oh, here he is. No. Anyone?
There's been some nice comments. There's been some agreeable comments.
We're not going to hear them, though.
But not many.
Yeah. This always happens at the start of the show. Matty's video goes, and then it always comes back in afterwards. Can you back with us, Matt?
What's going on. I'm here.
Okay. Well, you were pausing, but go for it. I think we've got you back.
Okay. So Andy Sava, he claims we're health experts now.
He's correct.
I disagree. I'm not a health expert. We're just observing that he looks very, very gaunt. Darius Francis claims he's carrying water weight. I will absolutely use that one because I've had a few too many beers over the years. I'm carrying a bit of extra weight. So, yes, water weight is water weight. Just a bit of water retention there. Who else have we got? Rio Andrews 1. Looks like he's been on the gear for a week. Not saying that, Rio. Not saying that, but you have. So you can take claim of that one. We didn't suggest that at all. And there's loads of people saying it's because he's got a newborn. I'm not being funny. I've had 4 newborns. I've never lost that amount of weight. I might have another one to give it a go and see if I can, because I'm carrying a bit of extra water weight. So let's see how that one goes. Yeah. But Coffee Dad did agree. There was a guy, Coffee Dad. He's had 2 kids. He said he put on weight rather than lose it. I agree. I've put on weight, and I keep putting on weight since the kids have arrived.
Well, that's I think what they call a midlife thing that we go through. I mean, listen, Matt, a lot of people on there had the comment that they couldn't see the difference, which I thought was odd. And that he was smiling and blah, blah, blah. But listen, it was an observation. You know, he shut us all up, didn't he, last night, and scored 2 goals and looked like he's getting back to his best. So let's hope that everything is fine with him. But we're here to bring some stories to the table and have a bar chat. So we like to do this. Rooney, mate, you're going to have to tell us, give us the insight. So you've failed. You're no longer basically a chainsaw man. What happened?
It hurts.
Is it still hurting?
Fell up the last, Rooney. Yeah, there was no injuries. That was the main thing. No, I passed the groundworks one. I did 3 days of felling. I had to fell 3 trees in 60 minutes. I got the first one down safely in 4 minutes, and I was told the cut was A1. The next one was tricky. Took me 35, 40 minutes to get it down. It's called a hang up. So you collapse a tree into another tree that'll take its weight. Then you've got to manually get the tree, which is probably weigh about a ton, on the ground yourself safely. And at 55, and I know I'm a bit of a gym bunny and I don't carry much weight, unlike the rest of you characters, it still took it out of me with a chest infection. And then I was that knackered for the last one. I just cut a clean cut, sent the tree right direction, but slammed it hard and fast. And
is that how you failed?
Yeah. Right direction, but too fast, too hard. So I needed to bring it down slower, more controlled. So that's it. I've only got a reset.
So you failed by going down too fast. Take your time, Paul. Take your time.
Yeah.
Come on. You've got this experience now.
And he gave me a second chance with a tree that was sat parallel to it, and I did exactly the same on that one. So it's unfortunate.
It wasn't meant to be. It wasn't
meant to be. Your life, Rooney.
I can still fell trees. I just can't charge for it. That's all. But
you just
if anybody's out there got problem trees, just
trimming the odd bush, mate. We've also got Rodders with us. He's done a super job, chaps. He's got us all lined up for Cheltenham. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We've got some good and actually some massive guests coming on. So we're all excited about that. You're right, Rodders, down in Cornwall. I believe.
I am trying to talk over the seagulls, as Matt said. We're getting there. Yeah, no, it's beautiful down there. Absolutely gorgeous.
Tell everyone where you are. Foy, you in Foy?
I'm in Foy in Cornwall, which anyone's ever been here will know is an absolutely beautiful place. Well, you've been here, Mark.
Oh, I've been a couple once or twice. Anyway, I've been down there. So, did you manage to catch the game last night? Did you? Were you with Dunny? Were you?
I wasn't with Dunny. No, he won't watch Arsenal with me. Or more than the point, I won't watch Arsenal with. This is a very great friend of mine called Mike Dunn, who was head of sport at the Sun for many years, and he's a massive Man United fan. So unlike Matt, he was going to come on tonight, but he didn't want to because he knew he'd get the piss taken out of him. So he's coming on. He's coming on next week, I think.
Brilliant. That's good. Well, you had plenty to brag about. We'll get into that one a second, but we'll just have a little, as we do, just look back at the week. It was very much an FA Cup week that was behind us. No massive surprises. I know, other than United, I can't keep bashing you every week. It gets boring. But look, this is the draw for the quarter-final. Brighton will play Forest, Preston North End at home to Aston Villa, Fulham at home to Crystal Palace, and Bournemouth, which is the tasty tie, have got Man City. I guess, Rooney, that's the one that is the most saucy of the lot. Do you think there's any surprises in there?
I don't think there's a surprise as such. I think the interesting thing about all of them, you look at the teams and you think about City's form, they could all win it. I've stuck my neck out in my betting account. They've actually gone for Fulham at 7-1 to win it. And I've just got this strange feeling Fulham are going to get through.
Do you know what the odds are? Can you pull them up, mate, while we're here? Do you know what the odds
in the background?
Well, yeah, exactly. Do you know what they are as we stand? Matt, have you got a fancy while Paul's pulling them up? Have you got anyone you look there and go, I fancy them?
I fancy Palace. For some reason, I fancy Palace. I don't know. Just Palace are springing out at me. If Mateta can come back, I don't see him being out for a long time. I fancy, for whatever reason, Palace are just jumping out at me at the minute.
All right, Rodders?
Let me just see. I'm trying to look as well.
I like Brighton. They're a really good side on their day, and obviously brilliantly run club, and I think they could very easily win it. Did you Fulham? I could see Fulham. I thought bringing Willian back was a really good signing. I don't know if anyone watched them the other day, but
I didn't realise he'd gone back until I saw him taking a corner. Did he play well?
Yeah, no, he's just an old head, and he can hold them together. But ex-Arsenal, of course, so it would be.
Yeah.
So I've got the odds here.
Oh, you got them. Yeah.
What are you on? What are you on, Rooney?
I was on Fulham at 7-1.
You're on Fulham at 7-1. Okay,
What
so
are the
other
Fulham on my betting app is 13-2. Palace are 10-1. Man City are the favourites on the betting apps at the minute, I think.
Makes sense.
7-4.
Yeah. I've got a 2-1 on the app I'm on. But I don't know. Palace just seem to. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but
Well,
I
it
fancy
says something about it, because I actually was thinking before we came on that I fancy Forest. So between us, we've got Forest, Brighton, Preston, and Palace. So that shows how open it is for anyone to come in.
Nobody's gone for Villa. Villa are
a good side.
very good side. Won away last night in the Champions League.
Yeah.
That's it.
Villa
Anybody
are
can win it.
second favourites. Yeah.
7-2. Yeah.
And you said we're at that point now. We're at that point now where it is anyone could win it. There's not that many teams left. Anyone can win it.
Oh, exactly. And I can't remember the last time there was an FA Cup when you looked at last 8 and said that. I cannot remember a time where you looked at the last 8 and said, well, wow, anybody could win that.
Yeah. Even Preston?
Well, they're not in the last 8, are they?
Yep.
Yeah, Preston, yeah.
Oh, hang on. Sure.
Brighton, Forest, Preston, Villa, Fulham, Palace.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I like Forest at 10-1 as well. It's not bad.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet. I'd quite fancy that one. Well, of course, the drama that unfolded, Matt, I couldn't help myself but to give you a call. I'm going to save the Manchester United bit at the moment, but I mean, when it went to penalties, I don't know what your feeling was, but it felt like it was written on the wall a little bit. And I mean, it didn't help, I suppose, you being in that with the missus, who's a Fulham fan, and all of her family. It was
all her family.
What's your immediate? We'll get in a minute. What's your takeaway? Just 35,000 feet takeaway from that. As I say, we're going to get into it a bit in a little while, but
initially, poor game, boring game, but when it went to penalties, I had no faith in Lindelof. Apparently, there's statistics to say that the 5th penalty is the most important penalty. Or was it the 4th? I can't remember. But he's got a striker on there who's banging in goals. The guy that we got from Arsenal, the youngster, he created a few chances himself during the game, and he hasn't taken a penalty. Why is he not taking a penalty? I don't know. But it is what it is. We lost on penalties.
We move on. Absolutely.
I felt a bit sorry for Xerxes, Matt, because I thought he played half a decent game. He was on the ball. He didn't get beat a lot, and he was. I think it was a pity it had to be him who missed.
Yeah, but it wasn't just him. So I mean, there's something you can take out of that. It wasn't just him that missed. Lindelof missed as well. So
yeah, true.
I mean, the other one, Matt, is it looks like no couldn't save a penalty if they're 10-100. He's perfected the art of not getting anywhere near the ball.
Yeah, he's useless.
It's front to back, isn't it? As I say, we're going to get well into United in a second, and we'll come back to that one. In terms of VAR, that was we can't go through a week without talking about it. But listen, it was the first week where they introduced the semi-automated offside technology. We were all looking forward to it, and instead we got the longest VAR check in history, 8 minutes. It was the Bournemouth Wolves game. They had to check 2 offside ball. The goal was given by the on-field referee. They had to check 2 handballs, and it was then eventually disallowed for an offside. And Darren English, Rooney, was in the VAR room with his honchos. I don't think he was the head guy. He was one of 2. And turned the game into a farce. That's very unlike him, isn't it?
But there was no cricket on, though, was there?
No, I don't think there was any cricket on, so there wasn't even an excuse this time.
There you go.
So I don't know, Rodders.
Apparently, there was an excuse.
Go on.
Sorry. Apparently, there was an excuse that the box was too crowded.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
There were too many people in the box. It was too crowded. Apparently, that was an excuse that I've heard.
But what's the point of that? That what
Yeah.
we're at this thing where I think they're too frightened to make a wrong decision. I was going to say, Rodders, you've had the best part of your life without this technology in football. I feel like it ruins the game, and I feel like when you go, we said this before, you go through a season, some decisions go for you and some go against. And now, are we not just overthinking this? What's your take on it?
No, I completely agree. Part of the magic of football is you just things happen in a split second. You don't quite know what's happening, and to be disallowing goals because someone's got a toe offside is just ridiculous. That's not what the offside rule was set up for. The offside rule was set up to stop goal hangers just hanging around and to work the game that way. It's just gone out of hand. It's silly.
Well, we get in a second about some new rules that are coming in, and one of the conversations that is not a rule coming in that came in out of the meeting. I can't remember what they're called now. It's the FA, whatever. It's run by who's the bald referee? Was he South American? Funny looking fella. Do you remember him?
Kalina, yeah.
Italian.
So he's now up there, but again, Wenger was involved, and there's all this talk. To your point, Rodders, where you're talking about, the toe offside. He's actually moved from it being the advantage to. He's saying the torso now, and that's the latest thing they're trying to put through, is that giving the advantage to the to the attacker by the fact that the torso is the bit. But the argument seems to be there. It becomes even more difficult to define it. At least when there's a limb, they can. It takes them long enough like that. So, how are we ever going to get to the point other than just remove it? But I can't ever see him going back. It doesn't seem likely, does it?
No,
So the other thing that came up was a series of reckless tackles that took place this weekend. Steve Parish, chairman of Millwall, has basically said that the tackle by Liam Roberts, the Millwall goalkeeper, was the worst. It was one of the most reckless tackles he's seen ever on Jean-Philippe Mateta. In fact, we won't. Hang on, it's not actually very pleasant to watch, but I mean, the guy is outside of his box. You have to ask what on earth he's doing with his feet up there. Rooney, what is that about? The FA have come out this morning and said a 3-match ban's not enough.
No.
Well, they've got to be careful, haven't they? I mean, he could have killed the guy.
25 stitches.
Yeah.
Could have broke his neck with that level of impact and that way. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know. You've got split seconds, haven't you, to make decisions? But even if he'd launched his head at it, it would have been less impactful than that. It just seems crazy. And obviously what was worse was, for anyone who saw it last night, Millwall fans were cheering it on. Was it the 8th or 9th minute?
8th minute, I believe.
Yeah, in their game last night, which, given he had a narrow escape, is a little bit mental.
I know, and you don't want to go bashing, do you? But at the end of the day, some of these things like that need to be ruled out of the game 100%. A couple of other ones that came into play, and I wanted to just pull them up as well to get your thoughts, guys. There was firstly, the one I thought was nonchalant was Cunha, and I mean, this is a guy that's on the edge of about to, if you like, get a big move.
Yeah.
And he's starting to act like this. I mean, he gets sent off. I mean, he won't get it.
That was over nothing as well. That was a nothing. it was a like that's what it's over. Like it was just a shirt pull. I don't understand why he's reacted that way.
It's a classic case of a guy believing his own publicity. You know, he is on the verge of a big move, and he thinks he's Billy Big Bollocks, and you know, you're not allowed to touch him.
And the other controversial, if you like, sending off that is going to mean at the moment that Anthony Gordon is going to miss the cup final. Was this one? You'll get a zoom in a second. Rooney, is this?
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous when you think about. Look at it here, an art character as well.
What's he doing?
I mean, it's just nonsense. What you could have done, you could have had a little backing track there of Gordon as a moron, Jilted John. It would have gone quite well with that little clip, but to cost his team I can't remember the last time we were in a final. Was it against United? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago. They don't get there often. It's just stupid, unnecessary, pathetic, really.
Yeah, I mean, I read this morning they're undecided whether they're going to challenge the decision, but I don't think they'll get anywhere if they challenge that.
Well, the only other conspiratorial view would be he's a big red. Maybe he didn't want to face Liverpool and run the risk of getting a winning goal when his entire family are Liverpool fans as well. So maybe he just wanted to sit it out.
I have to ask you guys. I have to ask you all. Do you actually think that's a sending off? Do you think it's a sending off offence?
Straight red.
He raised his hands, didn't he? With no. It was just. To me, it was just a push.
Had he been booked? Had he got a yellow card before?
I think it was a straight red, mate.
No, well, I think Matt's got a point then.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a straight red card. He's pushed him. His hands. When you're running and you go to push someone, your hand can accidentally go in someone's face because you're not in control. Or okay, maybe I've just contradicted myself. He wasn't in control, but he just went to push him. I don't think that's a straight red card, to be honest. I think that
was slow-mo, though. I think when you see it in real time, it looks actually quite vicious on normal time, which the ref would have seen it and then I guess played it back, or VAR certainly played it back in slower motion. Yeah. But I know what you're saying. I just, from a mitigation perspective, I just don't know what excuse he's got to have his hands there, given his body position, given his hands are that high. I don't know. But
I don't know. Maybe I need to move up with the times, and I'm still Roy Keane Vieira times, and that was a push. That's not a booking. I don't think that's a straight red card. But anyway,
that's not me having a week.
What is that?
Pouring my beer in right by the mess. Apologies. Yeah, that feels so much better. So the other, we're going to go straight into the Arsenal game. 7-1. Rodders, I thought we looked sharp in attack. I'm bothered about how we still look at the back. They could have easily gone 1 up, and there were a couple of other chances where we looked wide open. I'm going to take the positive if I can. And that is last season we had that lovely combination of Ben White, Saka and Odegaard. And I felt yesterday you saw the roots, if you like, of a similar kind of combination between Lewis Skelly, Declan Rice and Trossard. And it just made me think, you know what, if we can get those two things working together, obviously parking the fact that we need a centre forward, that's a real positive to take away. What was your take on it? Because a lot of people wax lyrical. It's PSV. I'm not being harsh, but against a stronger opposition, albeit 7-1 does look good.
No, I think you're right. I didn't think PSV played very well at all, to be honest. And I agree. There is that left-hand side, which we've never played down the left-hand side. When Martinelli's playing, we never play down the left-hand side. It all goes to the right. And there is because if you can have two things like that, two wings like that, you've got a good chance. But I mean, we never play well. Arsenal never play well against a team that just sits and blocks. We can't find. We pass ourselves to death, and nothing ever happens. PSV didn't play like that at all. They were wide open. 7-1. I think it probably flattered us a bit. But hey, it's Atletico Real in the next round, so we'll find out how good we really are.
I agree, but
could that be your timely boost?
Well,
sorry, say again.
Could that be your timely boost? Could that be a boost that you guys need? Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't think we played any different to the way we always play, but they played into our hands. Odegaard, I mean, you touched on it earlier. Yeah, he scored 2 goals, but he didn't. I don't think he had a great game.
Really?
So, do you think it could lead you into false pretenses then that you've scored 7 goals?
No,
do you think it could lead
absolutely.
you into false pretenses then?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand how we're second in the league. I really don't understand how we're second in the league because Mark and I have sat and watched this team and thought first of all they're boring, and secondly they're no threat. And listen, sometimes it happens. We beat Man City 5-1. We've beaten PSV 7-1, but then we'll go and do a 0-0 draw and pass ourselves to death. So I think the fact that we're second is a commentary on where everybody else is, to be honest, apart from Liverpool.
I just thought it was a classic. As soon as Arsenal can't win anything, they start playing decent football.
You're not wrong, mate. You are not wrong.
Can't win the league, and you're looking at getting a Madrid team in the next round, which would suggest that's going to be incredibly difficult to get through, and therefore there was no pressure on the players against, has to be said, an incredibly poor form PSV going into that game as well. But
I was going to say
Juventus in the last round, didn't they?
So again,
they beat Juventus in the last round, PSV.
Yeah, and they beat Liverpool reserves in the last game of the league team, but
But Rooney, I was going to say that to you. One of the things I read in the media, mainstream media this week, or actually this morning, it would be on the train when I was coming back, is that they were saying, and I ask you because obviously, as annoying as it is, I know you've been to a lot of Champions League games, and Liverpool obviously have a stellar record recently over recent years of doing very well in the competition. But a lot of them, the journalists are coming out and saying maybe Champions League football suits Arsenal better than the Premier League. I don't quite know what they mean by that. Have you got a take on what they mean by our style of play might suit that sort of thing?
I think you almost scratched on it a minute ago. You generally, with the quality of opposition in the Champions League, not going to get low blocks.
No.
You might get the odd one, but it will be the very odd one. But then you really got to pitch yourself almost as a prize fighter against the best every week. So if you're going open football, and most of the teams do, maybe Atletico, who's left aside, it's who can outpunch each other. And if I still look at the Arsenal front line, 7 goals is incredible last night for that game. But is it really going to scare a top echelon Champions League top 4 team year on year on year? I don't think it is.
No.
Well, they'll be worried because we've always got Sterling up our sleeves. I cannot stand.
Thank God for that.
If Arteta does one more, takes off Nwaneri, who's an excellent player and a threat, and brings on Sterling, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
What was the score when he brought him on last night?
Sorry, mate?
What was the score when he brought Sterling on last night?
Oh, it's about 6-1, wasn't it?
Exactly. So
So why doesn't he give give some of the younger players a chance? We've got apparently a very good young centre forward who's scoring lots of goals for the under 18s, I think. Why not at 6-1 up away from home? Why don't you bring him on? Give him a go. Go on, son, have a go.
I guess the only thing with that is whether there's anything in the loan deal where Chelsea mandated he had to play X number of games or get so many appearances for the money that exchanged. You know, there might have been a trade-off where they expected potentially to get a sale off the back of a productive session at Arsenal. But I mean, he's not done it, has he? On any appearance.
Maybe you're right. I mean, apparently Barrow are very interested in him, Rooney.
Hey, we wouldn't check him. We won away at Notts County last night, so.
Well, in typical Arsenal fashion, they win 7-1 and then announce today that they're putting their ticket prices up 3% next season. Already the most expensive place to go and watch football. It's not just an Arsenal problem. Liverpool, United, I think it's Everton and Newcastle have even teamed up at the end of last year to combat this problem. I believe West Ham and Brentford are the two clubs that have said, okay, we'll freeze the ticket prices because it is becoming so... My fear, I went to Arsenal Monaco, Champions League, and the atmosphere was rubbish. It wasn't a particularly brilliant game. But in terms of, you know, those diehard fans that know all the songs and create the atmosphere, that was a key part of the you know, of going to a stadium, if you like. I feel that's getting lost. And my other concern, and we all experienced this when we were younger, is that we all went to football with a father or an uncle or a granddad and it was a working class game. You know, I used to go and stand on the North Bank for £1.50. You know, I'm worried where this game it might go and what that might mean to, you know, the next generation. Rooney, what's your?
Say, where did you get your posh accent from then?
What do you mean? I was brought up in Surrey, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean it's they're all at it. I think and some worse than others. I know there's been all the trouble at United and Ineos's drive around sacking the tea lady, but doing nothing about non-performers like Casemiro, 300 grand plus a week, and all the bad optics that gives you. But to say who used to go, who goes now, it's very different in that it is. I've still got mates who got West Ham who I've been to West Ham with when it was standing room when I first moved out of London. But it's I suppose the exception rather than the rule. And when you're paying 6, 7, 8, 900, 1,000 a year for a season ticket, it's getting pretty serious. And I think the other thing that to me is unforgivable is all the clubs are trying to claw back the away ticket. So I saw a number of Arsenal fans had said and openly admitted that they were now going to the ground on a game they couldn't go to for whatever reason or didn't want to scan their season ticket on the turnstile, push the thing and walk off to make sure that they were not losing their away credits on the system. The clubs are just seeking total control over who goes and at what price.
Well, so who was saying that the other day where you won't even be... it wasn't on here, actually, that for Newcastle, unless you... Or maybe I'm getting confused. Unless you've been to a certain amount of games, you go down the pecking order for who can get your tickets first for the cup final. So to your point, you invest in us and there's your benefits, like some sort of loyalty thing. Yeah. And the idea that they no longer really want season ticket holders. You know, Arsenal have got, I think, 60,000 people, close to anyway, on their waiting list, if not more. They want this to be a commercial entity where people are turning up and there's tickets. I think we talked about the other day, tickets that sell to corporates, and you go in the way end and you're sat next to 5 or 6 Barcelona fans, you know.
A more productive and a more, I guess, advantageous way of doing that would be any Arsenal season ticket holders who walk out after minute 75 when they're getting beat ought to be penalised, and that would at least keep a full stadium through to full time and extra time. But There's many reasons, and the thing is, if a guy has had a ticket, I don't know, let's say he's 45, he's been an Arsenal fan since he's 5 years old, 40 years loyalty. That's just invisible, not tangible, and clearly not effectively valued by the club. You could be unlucky. You could get asked to go to 3 or 4 weddings in a season on a Saturday and therefore not be able to go for very genuine reasons. And why on earth should you be penalised?
I saw something on AFTV the other day, and someone was saying it's actually difficult now to plan it. So again, to your point, is that, in years gone by, it was Wednesday night or a Saturday afternoon. And now they go, well, it could be it could be Friday night at 7. It could be Saturday. If it's a Sunday game, it might be 2 or 4. But so it's any wonder that people can't plan. And then you only get it kind of a month in advance, don't you, Matt? You don't. I mean, it's very difficult to plan what and be at the top of that sort of leaderboard for getting tickets for the really big games.
Exactly, and we've all got kids. We've all had kids. And when games are on Wednesday nights, sometimes Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Friday nights, Saturday morning, Saturday early afternoon or Saturday late afternoon on a Sunday, the kids have activities. So, like you say, to plan when you can go and watch your team play, even if you're a season ticket holder. Obviously, you get the diehard fans that give up everything, and that's all they do. But there are some people that will be season ticket holders with kids that play football themselves, that go to gymnastics, that whatever it is, dancing, singing, piano, whatever. You have to sacrifice something somewhere. And to get penalised for being a family man, or even if you haven't got kids, if you've got other commitments and hobbies, to get penalised for maybe doing something else in your life, I think it's crazy. And it's also, like you say, Mark, you used to go.
Go on.
Sorry, go on.
No, you carry on, mate.
When I was younger, me and my mates used to phone each other up and go, should we go to United game today? Should we go to Wimbledon? Should we go to wherever it was? Should we go there? And you used to just go up, rock up, buy a ticket, in you go. The place was packed. Yeah. Place was packed, and it was.
The argument might be, there were 72,000 people standing in Highbury that day, because it was standing. And now it's a money game because they've got less tickets.
It's about the business model, Mark. If you go and watch German teams, you can go and watch the cheaper tickets at Bayern Munich. You can get a ticket for like 10, 12, 15 quid because they keep the tickets for the working man. They keep it at that level.
But how do they afford the big salaries? How do they afford to be competitive if you haven't got an income? Because I've always said that about the likes of Newcastle. They've got, and without being funded to the level that the Chelseas or the Arsenals or the Manchester United, with the level of fan base and the amount they can charge for a ticket, it's difficult to see how they'd be competitive, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, but how to. Brentford, as you know, Mark, I used to go and watch Brentford every week when I was a kid, and they've always kept their ticket prices, even when they went into the Premier League, and still do an achievable level for the working man because that's their fan base. You can say, they're probably not going to win the Premier League in the near future, but they'd comfortably stay in the Premier League. I've done for the last 5 or 6 years. And, football should be more than about winning trophies. And
I think though that this is a bit of an oxymoron because you saw it with Leicester when they had what's the kid in midfield that sold to Chelsea. They're 2 or 3 and Mahrez, 2 or 3 players that they're able to sell for hundreds of or thousands or tens of thousands, which means they were able to reinvest in the club. You had Brighton, which have very much done the same. You've had Brentford, which have done the same, and they've got big money in for big players and reinvested. And those three clubs in particular have also done very well at replacing the players that have gone. But then they get to a point where they can't do it anymore. And then look at Leicester. How have Leicester gone from, where they are or where they were to being a sort of, I would say, a top 8 team on repeat for 10 years and winning it, of course, to a team that just are not even in the mix. Rooney, I mean, Liverpool did it with Coutinho, and they rebuilt the team off the back of it. But it's difficult, isn't it?
It's a very difficult funding model, and we'll come on to it in a bit with the United position and what's happened in the past. I'm not a massive fan of Liverpool's funding model, but the one thing you can say they do stick within very, very sustainable patterns, but it expects a hell of a lot from the squad and from the manager. And you only have to look. Kiers has brought one player in who's barely played this year. The rest of it's the same squad. And we've not spent significantly really for 2 or 3 transfer windows. So as a fan, you sit there thinking, well, even if we win it this year, you get nothing for standing still. We've got to go big again. I'm expecting Arsenal to weigh in the summer to a huge number because they need, I would say, at least 2, possibly 3 superstars to re-energise and reinvigorate that squad. And standing still does you no good at all. You just go backwards.
I agree. Well, look, this seems like a good passage into our main point today, and a lot's been talked about in the media, and that is Man United. And Matt, we talked a lot about the performance on the pitch, and I know over the last 6 to 9 months, if not more, there's been a lot of, if you like, an undercurrent of conversation about actually is this how many managers you've gone through now? 5 or 6 since Sir Alex. No one seems to be able to get some traction, and there's this undercurrent that there is some turmoil in the club. Rooney, you've gone and had a good look at this, and it doesn't make good reading, and there is no smoke without fire, is there?
No, and I guess the synopsis over the top is United in 2005 and at 6 were a cash-rich club. They had 60 million or thereabouts in the bank. We all would know as fans and opposing fans, they never had issues attracting players to that club. If you were in a fight for a player, they were going to get the player. Full stop, you were going to lose out. And then the leverage buyout that the Glazers put on them put somewhere circa in the range of 500 to 500 million debt on them overnight and changed the entire funding model. You fast forward that to today, and they're still paying, I think, around about £1 million a week to service that debt, and they've had to cut the cloth accordingly. And I guess the other thing I'd looked at was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where the Glazers are also involved, and what happened in the late 90s there. Very similarly, you've heard the noise around public funding for the regeneration of Old Trafford. They did something similar in Tampa. The taxpayer didn't get a share in the stadium. The Glazers retained a very long lease on the stadium that they could extend almost at will. So they've had the best part of, I think, 30 years since it was rebuilt. However, it's led to a period of almost mediocrity for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, much to the fury of the fans and their players at times. And you do wonder if United are heading in that direction. The reason I say that is, look at Pierre-Emerick, and he's coming to a club that can't play 3-4-3. He won't change 3-4-3. Effectively, I think to get him where he needs to be, he wants 8 or 9 first-team players. You can possibly throw Onono on the scrap heap as well and say you need a keeper. So he's looking at potentially having to spend conservatively 500 million, perhaps more generously 650, 700 million to get him what he needs. So it does wonder when they're going to get any better anytime soon. And it's a real worry, I would say, if you're a United fan, because it almost looks like they're locked in a kind of financial death spiral, really.
I agree. There's, I mean, even more controversially, I read an article that I think I shared with you, which was a suggestion that you know, the Glazers have a history of sort of systematically exploiting any sports into enterprise. The Buccaneers, as you rightly say, is one of them, and extracting financial resource from the club. I mean, there's even something about, you know, just a small amount, but £12 million has just gone out to family members. You know, this is all...
it becomes a cash cow that can be milked at will. But very much you then sustain mediocrity, and you know, some of my best mates are Man United fans, and despite the rivalry with Liverpool, I feel for them, because I look at it and I think it is not a good situation to be in at all, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. They've got a great manager in, he can't work with that squad, he needs to spend money, that money isn't there to spend. Where do they go?
Well, I talked the other day about when Cristiano Ronaldo went back, and he said it's not changed. Nothing has changed behind the scenes at the club since he had left, and it became starkly aware to him that there was an issue. They've got the money that came in from the Glazers, 600 and something. I think I'm right in saying they paid £1 billion in interest alone on the 600 million and 600 and something million. I can't remember. You know, is it any wonder? How on earth do they get out of this issue? Rod, as you're saying, they've become businesses, but I mean, they're not even running this like a business. If this was a business, you know, it would be out of business. But to take a business from, what was the year they went in? 2013, was it? No, I can't remember.
2005.
2005. But to take a business with 350 million pounds in the bank to,
I think they had certainly confirmed 60 million slush fund in cash and a healthy balance sheet to effectively adverse to the tune of, and lots of people quote it in dollars and pounds, it's somewhere between 500 and 550 million sterling in debt overnight.
Because of what the Glazers did.
The leverage buyout, yeah. So they saddled the debt onto the club and took the cash into reserves, effectively.
Right.
I mean, but they're running this club, and according to the Sun, the Glazers' personal money that have gone into this is 45 million. That's all.
Yeah,
that's the only risk they've taken. I mean, I always try and get a rise from you, Matt. When we look at these things, and I know you always stay, you've resided almost to the fact that this is the case, but when you hear these sort of figures being bandied around, it is extraordinary, and it is literally no surprise that the club is where it is at.
No, of course not. To be fair though, these figures have been bandied about for a long time now. They've been there 20 years. That's why fans have had protests about getting the Glazers out. I can't see the Glazers getting out anytime soon because, like you say, it's a cash cow, and it's almost like free money for them. So they're not going to get out anytime soon.
It's a shame, Matt, because Man United is a global institution. I mean, you know, as you know, as an Arsenal fan, Man United have always been one of our biggest. And some of the, you know, you talked about the Vieira and the Roy Keane days, battles, but I loved all that. It was brilliant. You really looked forward to those games. And I really don't like Man United. You know, I know there's a lot of banter goes, but I don't like seeing Man United down in, what are you, 14th?
In that position.
You should be up there and so on. But as Mark says, I honestly don't know how they're going to get out of it, because the money needed in the modern game to buy the quality of player that you clearly need. I mean, I referred to you earlier. Mike Dunn is huge Man United supporter. I said, okay, of your players, who would you keep? Garnacho was number one on his list. Who would you want to keep? And he said Garnacho was number one. He said Mainu, who's sort of lost his way somewhere, has he? Bruno.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Bruno.
Yeah.
And he couldn't name anybody else. Can you?
Okay. That's I'd say that's fair.
I'd go further. We've sat
as a starting lineup.
Sorry, go on, Matt. I was going to say, Matt, you carry on, but I was going to say, I'll double down on that and say, if I looked at the Arsenal team, I wouldn't take any of them. And Fernandes, maybe. But, I mean, that, when you're going back to your Vieira and Keane comment, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? But, it's not just the on the pitch that I think I'm trying to drill down on. And Rooney, what you're referring to.
No.
It's paying £1 million a week in interest on something. It's how they've done this before. They've got cups and medals about this is how you're doing it. Building stadiums that are funded by taxpayers' money. The one in Tampa, I think, was 168 million of public funds. Yet somehow they managed to maintain full control of the team, the revenues and the profits. They're no idiots, these guys. They know what they're doing.
No, of course not. No.
All of them resulted in higher prices for tickets and a team that didn't perform on the pitch.
Yeah. And that's that acceptance of mediocrity. You become basically a stood still badge, really. So you've got all the history of the badge and all the history of the previous success, but you are treated as a going concern. And to Rod's point about the money, and we touched on it earlier, it has to be 600-700 million spent, and they haven't got it, and they can't do it for financial fair play.
So
and the other bit we haven't touched on, which is valid as well, though, and I must admit I don't understand this, is the involvement of Ineos. Things haven't got any better. They've potentially got worse. He's risked his 50, 60 million, whatever he threw in for a stake, and they don't seem joined up. You've got him and, Radcliffe and Brailford, like the two guys in the Muppet Show in the balcony, just kind of looking on. And if anything, they've taken the heat off the Glazers. They've stood there as almost a barrier in front of them, and things have got progressively worse. So top to bottom, it's a shambles.
Bought 25%. He paid 1.2 billion.
Oh, was it that much? Right.
It was 1.2 billion.
Yeah.
But here's the really thing that compounds it. When I said they invested 75 million of their own personal money, which is in stark contrast to any other Premier League owners. So let's just visualize the 45 mil. In their time in the club, the Glazers have taken out 1.5 billion in dividends, management fees, and interest payments.
Yeah, we've all known this. Gary Neville is really he's touched on it a long time ago. Gary Neville has always said they've taken dividends out. The owners need to go, blah blah blah. But whilst they're taking their dividends, why would they sell up? They're not going to go. When Ineos bought their 25% share, there was rumours. How true it is, I don't know. That after, I can't remember what timeline it was, but after X amount of time, they were going to be offered another load of shares. But I think there's like they're listed A shares and B shares. They wouldn't be offered A shares, but they could buy B shares in the club. And I've said this. I've said it week after week. Time is all we can.
I couldn't agree. I can't disagree with you more. It's not about. To me, it's not about time. It's not about. It's not about. It's a total and utter disregard for Manchester United Football Club, its history, what it's done for the people that have played for the club. They are driving it into the ground, and this bullshit of why wouldn't they sell it? Because oh, I'm taking 1.5 billion. Well, there lies one problem. The second problem is the performance of the club. The ground's fucked. The facilities are fucked. And yet somehow these people can take whatever they want out of it. And if you're telling me that the Glazers have any remote interest in Manchester United Football Club and everything it stands for, I'm not buying it. I'm just not having it.
No.
It's you know, and look, there's one Manchester United fan stood in this chat right now. Got a Liverpool fan there. It infuriates me that people coming into businesses, into sport, this is people's livelihood. There are people we talked about working class people. This is what keeps them sane. This is people's mental health. I mean, I'm not getting too woke on the whole thing, but they go for a release, to get away from real life, to go and watch a football club that the owners just want to take their money out and couldn't give a flying fuck about all of the people that are paying for them. And that's
it's not only about mental health, Mark. It's everyone. So 250 people they've made redundant because of the bad running of the Glazers, running of the club. 450 now. They could have mortgages and kids. They're because of a bunch of people that just see it as a cash cow and just take money. And like you say, don't give a shit about the club. Absolutely not. These people that they've made redundant are the people that have been there for years and years. Some of them might have been there 6 months. We don't know. But a lot of them have been there for years and years. They're the crux of the club. They're the people that make the club tick, right? Inside the stadium, rather than just the players on the pitch. They're the people in and around the place that make the club tick. They've got mortgages, they've got kids, and they just fucked them off because they're just taking the dividends out and they can't run a club properly, and they do not give a shit about the working class and the people of the club, which are Man United.
And I think to that point, it's a very extreme version now. You say 14th, 15th in the league, wherever they are. But it's also a fine margin because when you think about the Arsenal position, having gone close, 2 seasons out of 3, and then the third kind of slipped away. I know as you Arsenal fans will be thinking and expecting the Cronkies to put their hand in the pocket to, I would have thought, at least 200 million in the summer to re-energise that squad. Otherwise, you could realistically, for the reasons we said about not spending and going backwards, standing still, you can end up 7th, and then it's an easy step from 7th to 14th. But I think often the money behind the club isn't motivated by the fans' motivations of medals and glory and trips away and all the rest of it. It's about the money. And if the money was to tick over on Champions League, there's almost a kind of, that's all right. We'll stick with that. I'll tell you what, give Arteta 80 million. Don't give him 200. Give him 80 and tell him he's got to get in the top 4 again. You run the danger of that as well. But we'll see.
There are even more controversial views that the Glazers are using United money. They've got a business called First Allied Corporation in the States, which has been defaulting on their mortgages, a mall, I believe. And there's speculation that United money has been used to cover the losses for that side of the business. The Glazers are central to and the key drivers of the European Super League proposal, which and have guaranteed financial security for elite clubs. And then the failure of the European Super League thing has then increased another lack of trust, if you like, from United fans with the Glazers. And from all of this, you talk about. I'm just seeing something here, Rod, as you talked about that in Germany, they've got a 50+1 rule, which ensures the families have a majority stay in club ownership and preventing situations like the United's debt-laden takeover. Manchester City and Liverpool owners actively invest in sporting success. And the Glazers are proven now that profits are the only things that they want to serve up any which way but can. I don't. You're right, Matt. I don't see him selling it. But then and go. Well, that's the end of Man United then, because what we're going to do? Just have them. You're just going to become.
Well, the problem is financial fair play won't allow you to spend anything like the sort of money that you need to spend. As I said, whether you agree with Dunny or not, Garnacho, Bruno, and Mateta, if he's right, that means you need to buy at least 9 serious players. And let's say you only spend 40 million per player, and that's nothing in today's market, is it? That's 360 million. You can't.
It's never going to happen, is it?
You can't. You're not allowed to spend that.
No, it can. It just can't. And you think about the keeper.
I've said.
You pay 70 million for a new keeper, aren't you?
Yeah, I've said that it's not going to happen in one transfer window. It's going to take 3 years, and over that time, we can spend that money over 3-4 years. Their vision is to.
Matt, are you convinced Amorim is the right manager, because he's insisting on playing 3-4-3, and it will take you, that 3 years to buy the players that can play that system? Because at the moment, you don't have the players to play that system.
No, we don't, and I'm fully aware of that, and I understand myself that United are still 3 or 4 years away from getting close to competing for major trophies. I've resigned myself to that fact, and the guys had success at Sporting, right? He smashed Man City out, off the park. With his system, with his players, and you'd say that Sporting's players aren't at the level or the value of Man City players, but he smashed them off the park, and he had a great record at Sporting. So if he gets the players that he wants over the 3 or 4 years, then I would say I would, because he came in January. This guy, he's not not got the players that he wants to play that system. He's gonna need a load more windows to prove himself, because I don't think you can analyze any of his performance.
But Matt, what, he hasn't got the players who play 3-4-3. So why doesn't he change? Why doesn't he change to a system they can play to, whilst he gets the players who can play 3-4-3? I understand.
I mean, I think he said,
because I think.
Sorry, go on, Matt.
No, that's right. I just think. I just think it's because that's his way, and you can call it stubborn, you can call it the Tottenham way, if you like. But he has got a way of playing. He knows it works. He knows it can work, and it's all to prove that he needs different players.
Matt, I don't know if it's everyone else, but you're pausing a lot. I don't know if there's anything you can do on your end. Rooney, just while Matt sorts that out, you remember what you were going to say? You were just going to chime in with something there.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's be a short-term memory. I think what was it? Matt's last point was just around the system and the playing. I think he's made no kind of secret of it. It's in his DNA, Amorim. That's what he's played since he's been a coach. He's taken it to an optimum level and got great success. And the battering of City by the Sporting Lisbon team shortly before Amorim departed showed what he can do with players who can play that. He brought Dorgu in the window, and from what I've seen of him, he looks a decent player. He looks like he's obviously tuned to playing that style, but he's one. And then you look at the other 10 on the pitch, and there's a lot of work to do. Fernandes, I don't know if it's the Portuguese kind of tete-a-tete that's working quickly. It seems to have longevity. But aside from that, and I know Dunny was saying about Garnacho stormed down the tunnel the other day after a substitution. And for me, given Amarin's a disciplinarian, I don't think he'd be tolerating that.
Well, he clearly isn't, because the guy was up for sale.
Yeah.
But talented. He's a talented player. He came on the other day and changed the game. Yeah,
but I have a lot of time for him, because he clearly will not tolerate a player who either thinks he's better than he is, or bigger than the club, or worth more. And that's a great basis for building a tight, winning squad.
Paul, but Alex Ferguson had no time for a player who was not prepared to play the way he wanted to play. But Alex Ferguson could change his system to play so that the players who he selected could play that system. He didn't force them to try and play a system they didn't like. It didn't work.
The only thing I'd say about Amarin, he's been so public about it. This is the way I play. This is what I told the club. He wanted to come in the summer, having given the club a shopping list to get players to suit his 3-4-3. They insisted he had to go now with what they had. So it wasn't what he wanted to do, but he was looking at a prospect and down the barrel of no job. He was also linked as the succession manager for Guardiola before he extended. So I don't think he can believe what he's walked into. And I know I think
you're right, Paul, and I think that's why he's saying things like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. And I do wonder if he's now there. It's such a shame for somebody who was touted as, really the next Guardiola. Is he sat there thinking, I tell you what, just fucking sack me, Well, sack me and I'll go somewhere else, and I'll be a whirlwind, a revelation. I'll turn it on big time, but I just can't do it here because of here.
But they won't, Paul, will they? Because have I read that it will cost them 20 million or something to sack him and his team? Is it?
That's probably about right. Yeah.
There's a strong argument. There's a strong argument, guys. Going back to where we're starting as well, is that it can't be suddenly all these managers become fucking useless when they walk. I mean, Mourinho, we had Moyes, didn't we, first? But with a series of very high top end managers that go in there and made to look useless. And I think the whole thing we're saying is there's got to be a bigger picture and a reason for why this is the case. Because you can't just keep going. I mean, like you're saying, 20 million. Well, sack him. What are you going to do next? You tell me who the next person they bring in is, because I wouldn't be 100% convinced he's suddenly going to have a magic wand.
There's a common denominator, isn't there? And it isn't the manager.
Yeah.
No, it isn't. To be fair to him, I think you're right. I don't think it is. But listen, I go back to my first comment. I'd have no pleasure in seeing Man United struggle like this, because I want them up there, and I want those big games that we all look forward to, and the passion. That's what it was all about.
Exactly. The only other thing you can say, and this is the demise, is that if you look at the players, you forget the brand, you look at the players, you do look and go, well, they're just not a very good team. So either they can't attract the right players anymore, or they're just not a very good team anymore in every position. Matt, are you back with us? You back here in that?
I'm back. Am I back with you now? I think it's years. Okay, I think over the years, different managers, they've started to bring in their own players, and then they sack that manager, and then that manager then doesn't want them players, and they play a different way. It's just a mess. They need to give this guy. They need to give this guy some windows to bring in the players he wants, to get him to play the way he wants, and then after 4 years, after 4 windows rather, if they're not improving whatsoever, then it's time to move on. And something, but he needs windows. He needs to bring in his own players to play the way he wants.
And he's so
the
thing
problem
is,
Matt, the problem is, Matt, you're not going to have Champions League or looks like Europa League money to help fund your rebuilding. It's unfortunately
he's so far behind. Yeah, he's so far behind the black ball. He's going to need 4 seasons just to get them to a team that can compete, let alone top 4, let alone a team that can win the league. Listen, we'll see. Sky did a I think they did a poll and it said 46% of fans are still hammering in. So I mean, I think the 4 of us are here, so we can make up 4%. Not that we do, but I think it's a 50-50 whether he's the right guy or not. And it remains to be seen. Another contentious issue that we have to deal with, and residing to the fact that maybe the problems aren't on the pitch, they're off the pitch. And talking about off the pitch decisions, it brings us to another point, is that the rules are changing, guys, which you'll all be pleased to hear. More rule changes coming in next year. The major rule change is for goalkeepers. Currently, the rule is that they can't hold the ball for more than 6 seconds. And I believe you have to be moving, which is why they've got this thing now where they can bounce the ball on the spot. And therefore, some of these kicks are taking up to 30 odd seconds. What they're saying now is you can't, it's increasing to 8 seconds, but basically if they exceed that, it won't be an indirect free kick that's given now. It's a corner to the opposing team. They're saying that the reason for doing this is it's a less of a what would you say, a heavy penalty, if you like. They've trialed it out. They seem to think it will work. Are we just fucking around with the rules again, Rooney? Should we just leave the game alone? There's not been a problem with it for a long time. Why now?
I'm just thinking Jordan Pickford's going to have a busy but very lucrative summer giving consultancy on how to string it out for another 2 seconds, because he's the master of time wasting at the best of times. But yeah, it does seem like it's fiddling around the edges, really, doesn't it? I don't know.
Guys, can you guess the year? I saw this when I was doing research. The year that the back pass was removed.
Oh, I'm going to guess.
Mini quiz.
88.
No.
I don't know. Carry on. Might have been a bit later than that, I think.
May.
Question.
Matt? Go on.
He's not moving.
What do you think? Rodders?
I think it was, I don't know, mid-90s, I was going to say.
Matt, you back with us?
I'm here, if you can hear me. I don't know what's going on.
I can hear you now.
Okay, what was the question?
When did they remove the back pass?
The back pass?
To the goalkeeper, yeah.
That he could pick up.
It was early. No.
Totally balls this up, by the way, because I now can't find the thing that's going to confirm the date. Go on.
Not like you.
Yeah, but thanks, mate. Yeah, very unlikely.
Did you get my answer?
No, you froze.
It's someone every week, isn't it? I'm going to give you the answer in a minute when you're less frozen, because you've now made me nervous by going. It was 1988. I will find it. I will find it for you. Just while I look at that, one of the things they've said about the back pass itself. About there being the 8-second rule, is it will now force keepers to make more riskier decisions. In other words, not to pick the ball up, carry it to get the angle in the box is one argument. You could also see attackers standing closer to goalkeepers to force an error and make the goalkeeping game even harder. We've now seen that to be a goalkeeper, you need to be a bit of a ball-playing centre half, and we saw and speed from Raya the other week. So is it going to? Maybe that brings more jeopardy to the game. Maybe it will be more interesting. I just feel like, I think in my heart of hearts, maybe, as you say, we're all a bit too old, that the more they play with the game, don't break something that's not fixed. What's the saying? I can't remember it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. That's what they say. Matt, have a little look on that date for me, because I'm now concerned when the back pass was eradicated from football. Go on. It's not fixed.
Can you see it?
Is it? Yeah, no, go on. What is it?
It says the back pass rule was introduced in 1992.
So you were what? 4 years out. 5, 6 years out. Yeah. So there you go. Other stories of the week. David Coote. He's been given his comeuppance 16-match ban from being a Premier League footballer for bringing the game into dispute. 16 games or 600 games. He's not got a future in Premier League football, surely, Rooney.
I can't believe I've seen that. I mean, I know you said footballer, meaning referee. He's got to go. He's got to go on the basis of trust and integrity of the game. And I heard an interesting comment from the notorious Joey Barton on this very subject. I won't repeat it verbatim what he said, but in essence saying he had it on good authority that it was the Far East betting syndicates that lay such big bucks on the Premier League because they have 100% integrity in it. And this is the first chink.
Say that again. So
that the Far East betting syndicates lay their biggest bucks on Premier League money. They won't touch the Italian league or the Spanish league. They believe there is enough going on in those leagues that could leave them very exposed, and believe the integrity of the Premier League. And this is the first example that has brought that integrity into doubt, shall we say. And like he said if those videos had been held by a kind of betting syndicate and they'd been speaking to him saying, well, I'll tell you what, we're not only going to leak to the media that we know something about your sexuality, we know something about your drug taking, they could have coerced and got outcomes or decisions from it. And he believes the Premier League are giving this almost an olive branch, if you like, and talking about things. Well, maybe you can work in the VAR van, but maybe you can't run a game, because the Premier League are crapping themselves.
Is he suggesting he thinks he will get back into the game, or it's an absolute...
He was suggesting they're facilitating a route back in where there shouldn't be one. Full stop.
Bizarre. Absolute bizarre. I just can't see how you could take him seriously anymore.
And to that point, it was really along the lines of, and who knows the context, but I forget the commentary around, oh well, did you get on so and so for a card that game? And even if it was said in jest, when you piece it all together, it doesn't look good. And therefore, is this the thin end of the wedge? Who knows?
Who does know? On Premier League refs, you'll also be pleased to hear that I read earlier that Michael Oliver won't be refereeing a Premier League game this weekend because of his failure to handle the Millwall goalkeeper problem. So rule off the hook this week from the Oliver, not English, but Oliver wagon of bad decisions. Jose Mourinho has sued Galatasaray. Love this story. So Jose. So he sued them for £41 million, which works out to be in lira 1.907 million, which just happens to be the year 1907 that Galatasaray were founded. Only Jose could do that. Shithousery at its finest by Mr. Mourinho. Who knows what's going to come out of that? It seems, as we said last week, it looked a bit ridiculous. I haven't read anything anymore. Matt, have you read anything this week to follow up on that, or was it just a storm in a teacup? No delay.
I think Jose Mourinho should take US citizenship and run for presidency when Mr. Trump's finished, because he's about as much of a fucking idiot as he is.
Hey, we don't do politics on here, Rod. We don't do politics.
I know.
Well, let's listen. Trump's very busy making some new rules at the moment, so we can't get into that one. This podcast will be wrong, and I'd have to get your missus on, Rodders.
And he's a good lad as well.
What, Trump? You're a Trump fan.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're going to get into politics. We can't do this.
Yeah, let's not do it. Let's
stay away. That's a different podcast. Can we? That can be called Twat Chat.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay, guys. One of the the exciting thing ahead of us. We've lost Matt. I think he's struggling in terms of getting his connection. So I'm sure he'll come back. Really exciting though this week. Rodders has been a busy man. We've got the Cheltenham Festival, so we've got loads coming up and some really, really good interviews. And I want everyone to stay tuned. And I'm really delighted to announce that in the festival we will do a preview tomorrow, but also we'll be coming to you every morning with some tips and inside information, not just from ourselves, but from the front line as well. Rodders, we've got delighted to have John Joe O'Neill, who's going to join us for an interview, Gold Cup winning jockey and champion trainer. He's got some runners at the festival, so I'm sure he'll give us some massive insight. Good mate of yours. We've got Mark Pittman as well, Gold Cup 1991, Gold Cup winning jockey on Garrison Savannah, Jenny Pittman's son. We have the amazing good old friend of yours, Rodders, Michael Dickinson, who only champion trainer to train the first 5 finishers of the Gold Cup, and good mate of yours, Mike Dillon, who was head of PR for Ladbrokes for 40 plus years, and he's basically seen everything and everyone in the game. What else do we have in the pipeline? What? That's a great lineup, is it not? I mean, there are 4 people there that know racing and indeed the Cheltenham Festival inside out. You looking forward to it?
Oh, I can't tell you. I mean, as you know, Mark, very well, I used to go every year with the lads, and it was. I remember bits of it, but we just had great times, and I've watched these guys. I mean, the Dickinson 5 home in the Gold Cup was absolutely sensational. As you know, I was really good mates with his dad, Tony Dickinson, and to watch that was. But in the interview, I'll be talking to Michael about that, and he'll tell you what he felt, and I can't really imagine what he felt like. Mark Pittman's come on because he's. As we all know, his mum was the first woman to win the Grand National with Corbière, and a very powerful woman in her own right. He's got some stories to tell. John Joe is just a top man, he's had 2 severely broken legs during his career, and he had to battle cancer. Still there, basically because he said, "Fuck it, this is not going to beat me," and they didn't, and he's had an amazing career as a jockey. I think he rode over 900 winners, and has ridden horses like the classic. I mean, I'm going to ask him is the best horse he ever rode at Cheltenham. For me, it was Dawn Run. Fantastic filly who, just amazing. And Dylan, well, if there's anybody in racing he doesn't know, then they're not in racing. I mean, he just knows everyone, and he's seen it all. Mike's also going to come on later in this year when we get into the Grand National, because Mike was really responsible for revamping the Grand National when it was going. It wasn't anything like it is now. It was going downhill fast, and So he's got some amazing insights into that. I mean, basically, Cyril Steen, who was head of Ladbrokes at the time, just said, get on and do it. And he did. So he's going to tell us about that. I've got a guy coming on. I'm not allowed to call him a professional gambler, but he's a man who doesn't make any money doing anything other than gambling. But he's going to come on and every morning, and we're just going to go through quickly the big, and he's going to tell us who he thinks might win, might be, what he fancied, and so on. So I can tell you his name. His name. No, I won't tell you his name because it turns into a little slogan that we're going to use.
We'll add that one in. But I think the important thing of what we're trying to do is not only get our insight coming across from the love of racing and the festival. And I know, Rooney, you've been there like the old man numerous years, following up with your mates and going and enjoying the day. So doubling that down with some really key players, and John Joe's obviously training now for JP McManus, and he's got some brilliant runners. He'll be able to give us the insight on how he's prepared for their horses for the festival, who he thinks are going to run well, and we can't ask to be able to offer you guys, our viewers, a better insight, I don't think, for racing. So we've got a load of this ahead for this week. It's going to be a busy one. We'll have some more Premier League reaction as well. Raf is making his first appearance on BarChat. There's a lot to say on the subjects of horse racing, so we'll get him on as well. We'll have any breaking football news, and as I said, some great insights. We're delighted to be able to say that we're also going to be at the National. We'll be going on Ladies' Day, which is before. We're working on now just being there for the National itself. So we're going to be busy bunnies. We'll have to stay off the Madry and in the paddock, Rooney, which will be a first for us at these racing exploits. So I suggest we get all the interviews out the way as quickly as possible, so we're not always talking bollocks.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
Absolutely. Anything else to add to that? Everyone's looking forward to that. Are you around, Matt, tomorrow at any point? Are you working? Where are you, Matt? Are you about to do give us a little bit of insight on the and help us with the Cheltenham first sort of intro? Or when are you working tomorrow?
So I finish. I should finish at 5:30 tomorrow, but I'm doing a bit of training tomorrow, so I might get a little bit of a flyer. I might be home by 5. Fingers
bit
crossed.
Of training. You mean you're not? I thought you meant you're like that kind of training.
No, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not in the gym. No, it's a little bit of kung fu stuff. To do with my work. Yeah, it's a little bit of.
Got such a brilliant intro for next week.
How can you
wipe on, wipe off?
Yeah.
You've got chainsaw into kung fu. You've got everything on this job.
Karate kid.
It's a little bit of kung fu stuff tomorrow. So I could get a little bit of a flyer tomorrow. Depends how good the. I'm a little bit kung fu myself. Depends how the others get on, and so I could get a bit of a flyer. So hopefully be home by about 5. I'm hoping.
All right, we'll try and pull something together and get that and get that down. Massive thanks to our sponsors, guys, Easy Breeze in Bowness, and of course Madry, who have all the pouring rights for some of these venues that we're talking about. We appreciate all of your comments and feedback. It's always great for us to read them. And as I said, we had a great impact on TikTok this week with the Odegaard thing. So please continue to help and share and help us shape the show for moving forward. So follow us. Festival coming up. We're growing. We're getting there. Should be fun. Thank you very much, guys. And we will see you tomorrow. What more can we do?